It hit me during dinner, not in some dramatic way, no shouting, no storming off. It was quiet. Too quiet. Samantha sat across from me, chewing like she was counting each bite, scrolling through her phone with her free hand. She used to talk nonstop during dinner, about work, neighbors, stupid gossip from her yoga class. Now, nothing but the sound of her fork tapping the plate. My name's Adam. I'm 37, live in Overland Park, Kansas. Been married to Samantha for almost 10 years. And yeah, I used to think we were solid, but lately, something's off. It's the small things. She stopped laughing at my jokes. Hell, she barely even looks up when I talk. She goes to bed before me, says she's tired, but then I hear her whispering on the phone, says it's her sister, but it's the same giggle she used to have with me back when we were dating, that quiet, flirty kind of laugh, the one that made you feel like you were the only guy in the room. Quick note, before we go any deeper, tell us which country or city you're watching from. Tonight was the final straw. I was talking about maybe taking a weekend trip. Just the two of us, nothing big, maybe Branson or somewhere close. She nodded without looking up, muttered something about work being crazy. I kept talking, trying to pull her in. So maybe next month we can... Yeah, sure, Brian. She didn't even flinch when she said it. Just kept scrolling like nothing happened. I froze. Did I hear that right? Brian? She looked up finally, like she realized I'd gone quiet, but all she said was, "What?" I wanted to ask her, wanted to slam my fork down and demand who the hell Brian was. But instead, I just smiled. Nothing, just thought I heard something. Must have been the TV, she said, even though it wasn't on. We finished dinner in silence. She cleaned her plate, said she had emails to answer, and disappeared into the bedroom. I sat there staring at her empty wine glass. I didn't want to jump to conclusions. Maybe I misheard her. Maybe I was overthinking it, but my gut wouldn't let it go. There was no Brian in her family, no Brian at her job, far as I knew. Something was wrong. I didn't have proof, not yet, but I knew I had to find out. So I got up, rinsed my plate, and started planning. The dishes were still damp when I dried my hands and walked out to the garage. I didn't say anything to Samantha. She was still buried in her laptop, earbuds in, nodding to whatever she was pretending to care about. Her keys were hanging on the hook by the door. I took them without a sound and walked to her car like I was just checking the tire pressure or something. I opened the passenger door and sat down, my eyes going straight to the glove compartment. I opened it slowly. Registration, napkins, a broken sunglasses case, tampons, gum wrappers, nothing out of place, nothing suspicious. I even ran my hand under the seat, felt around for anything tucked between the cushions. Still nothing. I leaned back, frustrated. I wasn't going to find anything just sitting here guessing. Then I remembered the dash cam. I used to work delivery a few years back, had a cheap dash cam I'd bought online for insurance reasons. It was still in my old toolbox. I kept it mostly for parts, but the camera should still work. By midnight, she was asleep. I waited a full hour just to be sure. Her breathing was deep, steady. I moved slow, no sudden movements, kept quiet on the stairs, grabbed the dash cam and an old USB stick I had lying around. The wires were a mess, but I knew enough to get it up and running without needing the screen. I didn't need sound at that point, just footage. At 6 the next morning, I caught her before she left. "You need gas?" I asked casually, pretending to sip my coffee. She paused at the door, bag slung over her shoulder. "No, I'm good. Why?" "Just figured I'd top it off for you if you were low." She shrugged. "I'm fine." That was it. Not a thanks, not a smile, just gone. As soon as the garage door shut, I slipped out and opened her car. The installation took 5 minutes. The cam sat tucked up behind the mirror, wires fed behind the dash, barely noticeable. I tested it with the USB stick, good enough to catch movement and sound, at least in front seats. No night vision, no GPS, but it'd do. That whole week, I acted like nothing had changed. I asked if she wanted anything from the store. We talked about trash day and when her parents were visiting next. She gave me little pieces. Don't forget to pick up almond milk, or I think we're out of trash bags. But she never really talked. I stopped trying to make her laugh. On Thursday, she worked late, said she had reports due. I just nodded. "Take your time." That night, I watched TV until she got back. She came in, barely made eye contact, gave me a half-assed kiss on the cheek, and said she was exhausted. I watched her walk to the bedroom. Still no mention of Brian. I didn't ask. The camera had been running for 4 days. I knew I'd have to go through hours of boring footage. Commutes, traffic lights, maybe a stop for coffee. But that didn't matter. I didn't care how long it took. I just needed one moment, one glimpse of the truth. Something to shut down every excuse she might throw at me when this all came out. The next morning, she left again, like always. I walked out to the garage, took out the USB, slipped it in my pocket, and went back inside without a word. It was time to see what she thought I'd never find. I slipped the USB into my laptop just after 1 in the morning. Samantha had been asleep for over an hour, deep sleep, the kind where she didn't even turn over. I was sitting in the dark, lights off, back against the wall like I was hiding from something. The folders loaded slow. I clicked open the most recent one. No expectations, just traffic noise, maybe some background music. Instead, I got her voice. "Hey, I was starting to think you weren't coming." Not the tone she used with me. This was lighter, playful, that fake laugh she'd given me at dinner a few weeks back. It was real now, coming out easy. Then I heard him. "I told you, I always find time for you." That voice. I knew that voice. Brian fucking Cole. I hadn't heard him in years, but it clicked right away. We'd met a few times through mutual friends. He used to be all over Samantha's social media way back, before we got engaged. I didn't think twice about it then. Now, it made my stomach turn. I fast-forwarded, hands shaking. The footage showed them sitting in the car, parked, somewhere dark, maybe behind a shopping center or some quiet road. She leaned toward him. Her body language said everything her lips hadn't said to me in months. "So, did you miss me?" she asked him. He chuckled. "Every damn day." Then she laughed, this breathy, soft thing that I hadn't heard in years. It wasn't just physical, it was emotional, intimate, like they were in some alternate universe where I didn't exist. He reached over, tucked her hair behind her ear. "You look so good in this light. You always say that, because it's always true." Then she kissed him. I didn't look away. I watched every second of it, the way she smiled into it, the way she sighed. It wasn't just sex, it was a connection, something real, at least to them. I let the video keep playing even after it got quiet. I stared at the screen while they held hands and talked about their weekend plans. She said she had to keep things low since I was starting to ask questions. He told her not to worry, that I was too checked out to notice. I didn't react, I didn't yell or throw anything, I just sat there. Then I got up, opened a new folder on my desktop, and started copying the files in. I went back through the earlier footage. 2 days ago, same thing. They met during her late shift. He got into the car, leaned in like he owned the place. She touched his face. I caught her calling him baby. I labeled that file Tuesday parking lot 1, the next one Thursday hand-holding, another Friday night kiss. I didn't know why I was organizing it like that. Maybe I needed it neat. Maybe I needed it clear. Each video felt like a piece of my marriage being peeled off and tossed in my face. By the 4th video, I knew there was no saving this, no fixing it. I just didn't know what the endgame was yet. Divorce? Sure. But not like this. Not quietly. Not like I was some guy who just faded away while she played house with another man. I closed the laptop, made sure the files were backed up on another drive, and tucked everything into the back of my sock drawer. I wasn't ready to confront her. Not yet, but the proof was there. And when the time came, she wasn't walking away clean. The next morning, she brought it up while sipping her coffee, acting like everything was normal, like I hadn't spent the night watching her cheat on me in high definition. "Hey," she said, not even looking up from her phone. "Claire and Matt are throwing a dinner party Saturday. You remember them, right?" "Yeah, from the lake house trip." She smiled like we were still some happy couple with shared memories. "They're inviting a bunch of people we haven't seen in a while. I told them we'd come." I nodded, slow. "You sure that's a good idea?" She cocked her head. "Why wouldn't it be? You've been swamped lately. I figured you'd want a quiet weekend." "No, I think we should go. Be good for us to get out, don't you think?" Her tone was light, but her eyes were watching me too closely. Like she was waiting to see if I'd push back. I didn't. "All right," I said. "Let's go." She leaned in and kissed me on the cheek, quick and calculated. Great. I'll let them know. As soon as she left for work, I opened the laptop. I already knew Brian would be there. Claire and Matt were part of their little circle. Samantha had dropped his name once when talking about old friends who'd be there. She slipped it in like it was nothing, but I caught it, just like I caught everything else. I clicked through the dash cam folders, rewatching the worst of it, the laugh, the kiss. The moment she told him, I wish I could just tell him the truth and be done with it. Done with me. I dragged 3 clips into a new folder, renamed them Intro, Touch, Confession. Short, clean, no fluff. Just enough to destroy the fantasy she'd built. I plugged in a new flash drive, copied the files over, and locked it in the glove box of my own car. I wasn't going to fumble with tech at the last second. I knew Claire's house had a living room TV with a USB port. Matt used to play vacation slideshows on it, at parties like some kind of dad channel. The moment would come. I'd be ready. The rest of the week, I played it cool. We talked about what wine to bring. She mentioned maybe stopping at Nordstrom to grab a new dress. I said it sounded nice. Inside, I was coiled tight. Every time she smiled, I pictured her hand on Brian's arm. Every time she laughed, I heard her whispering, I've never felt like this with anyone. I went through the plan every night like a checklist. Get in, stay calm, wait for the shift, when they get comfortable, when the whispers start, when Samantha forgets I'm even there. Then I'd move. Saturday crept closer, and I didn't sleep more than 3 hours a night. Not from nerves, from anger, from anticipation. I wasn't afraid of confrontation. I wanted it. I wanted the look on her face when it hit her that I'd been watching the whole time. She thought I was passive, checked out. A man too dull or distracted to notice the wreck happening right in front of him. She was wrong. We pulled into Claire and Matt's driveway a few minutes past 7. Samantha fixed her lipstick in the visor mirror like it was any other night. I watched her out of the corner of my eye, calm on the outside, calculating underneath. She smiled at me when she closed the mirror. Try to have fun tonight, okay? Sure, I said, and got out of the car. Inside, it was warm and loud. Claire was already buzzed, hugging people too long, greeting us with a shriek. There they are! The power couple, she said, pulling Samantha in. Then to me, God, we haven't seen you two in forever. Yeah, I said. Been a while. Samantha let her arm slip from mine as soon as we walked in. She drifted into the crowd like she had a magnet pulling her somewhere. I stayed near the kitchen island, grabbed a bourbon off the drink cart, and kept my eyes open. I didn't have to wait long. Brian walked in 20 minutes later, laughing at something one of the guys said at the door. Samantha was already halfway across the room by the time he stepped inside. She didn't even try to act surprised, just brushed her hand across his back like it was muscle memory. I stood near the hallway, sipping slow, and watched them. She leaned into him, said something that made him tilt his head and grin. He touched her elbow like it was nothing, but it wasn't nothing. That touch told me everything. While you're listening, drop a comment and let me know. What city or country are you watching from? I made my way through the house slowly, not mingling, just existing in the background. Nobody noticed. Or if they did, they didn't care. Samantha did a good job playing the wife in small spurts, grabbing my arm when someone asked how we were doing, smiling wide when Claire took pictures. But in between those moments, she was somewhere else. With him. She kept circling back to Brian like she couldn't help it, talking close, laughing louder than she needed to. Every few minutes she'd rest her hand on his arm or tuck her hair behind her ear and tilt her head like a high school girl trying to get picked for prom. I caught Brian glance at me once across the room. It wasn't panic. It was smug. Like he thought he had the upper hand. Like he knew something I didn't. He didn't. Dinner was set up buffet style. Matt made some speech about friendship and long years and all that surface-level crap people say when they're avoiding real tension. We filled our plates, sat around a long table stretched across the dining room and part of the living room. I took my seat at the far end. Samantha sat across from me, 2 seats over. Brian was next to her. The 3 of them, her, Brian, and some guy from Matt's job, talked the whole time like they were catching up on old times. Like I wasn't even there. Samantha didn't look at me once. Not even when I passed the bread basket. She wasn't nervous. She was comfortable. That told me more than any footage ever could. I stayed quiet, ate slowly, nodded at people's stories, laughed in the right places. Nobody noticed I hadn't said more than 10 words all night, and that was fine. I didn't need attention. I needed timing. By dessert, the energy had shifted. The lights were dimmer, people were louder, couples were a little closer. Claire cranked up the music and brought out some old bottle of dessert wine she was saving for a special night. Everyone was in that fuzzy stage between drunk and sentimental. Samantha was glowing, and not because of me, because of him. She leaned into Brian like it was the most natural thing in the world. I checked my pocket. The flash drive was still there. I was done watching, but they weren't done performing. Good. Let them keep putting on the show. Because I already had the finale loaded and ready, Brian poured himself another glass of wine and leaned back in his chair like he owned the place. His voice cut through the small talk around the table. Some women just know what they want, he said, looking right at Samantha. And some men never figure it out. It wasn't even subtle. Samantha didn't flinch. She smiled behind her glass and stared down at her plate like nothing happened. That was it. I set my fork down. Quiet. No scene. No yelling. Then I looked Brian straight in the eye. Enjoy her? That stopped everything. Conversations died mid-sentence. Chairs shifted. Glasses hovered mid-air. Samantha blinked like she wasn't sure she heard me right. I pushed my chair back and stood up. Claire looked around, laughing nervously. What's going on? I didn't answer her. I turned, walked into the living room, and reached behind the TV. Matt had a stack of remotes on the shelf, labeled, organized, classic engineer brain. I grabbed the one for the screen and turned it on. Then I took the flash drive from my pocket and slid it into the port. The screen lit up. Samantha's voice came through first. Hey, I was starting to think you weren't coming. A second later, Brian's voice answered her. I told you, I always find time for you. I didn't say a word. I just stepped aside so everyone could see. Matt stood up halfway, confused. What's that? No one answered. Brian's face went pale. Samantha froze. On the screen, she leaned across the console of her car and kissed him. Full on. Her hand touched his cheek like she couldn't get close enough. Her laugh was soft, breathy, pure affection. The whole room fell into dead silence. Claire covered her mouth. Someone's drink spilled onto the floor. I didn't even look. Samantha shot up from her chair. Adam, turn it off. I didn't move. She came toward me fast, like she was going to yank the drive out herself. I held my hand up. Don't, I said. Let them finish watching. Her mouth opened to speak, but nothing came out. Brian stood too, red-faced. This is ridiculous. I turned to him. Number? This is honest. The next clip started. Samantha again. I wish I could just tell him the truth and be done with it, Brian answered. He's not paying attention. He's basically out of the picture already. That one landed hard. I heard someone whisper, "Oh my God." Samantha backed away like the floor shifted under her. Her face was drained of all color. Adam, please. I looked her dead in the eye. You made your choices. Don't try to manage mine. She reached for my arm, but I stepped back. Brian took a step forward like he was going to say something, but he stopped himself. He knew it was done. Everyone watched the screen, unsure whether to look at the footage or the wreckage in front of them, and I just stood there, still, focused, waiting, because this was only the beginning. The second clip started. This time, they were parked outside what looked like a hotel. Samantha was in the driver's seat, turned toward Brian, her hand on his thigh like it belonged there. You know, I think about you more than I should, she said, voice low and soft. Brian smirked. That's because you finally got tired of pretending. The sound of her laugh was like a slap, because it used to be mine. That laugh was mine once. Around the room, no one moved, forks down, wine untouched. The hum of the fridge in the kitchen was the only background noise besides the video. Claire leaned over to Matt, whispering, That's their car. Matt nodded slowly, not saying a word. On screen, Samantha leaned in, kissed Brian again. Then came the part I'd saved for last, her voice crystal clear. I swear, sometimes I wonder why I ever settled. That one hit harder than the rest. I didn't move, I didn't flinch. I just watched her. She was standing by the edge of the dining room, one hand covering her mouth, her eyes locked on the screen, frozen, like she thought if she stood still long enough, it would all go away. Then came the third clip. They were laughing, full-on laughing about me. I swear, I could probably tell him I'm at Bible study, and he'd believe it, she said. Brian chuckled. He seems like a nice guy. Just slow. That did it. Someone across the room let out a stunned breath, like they couldn't hold it in anymore. And then, from the hallway, "What the hell is this?" The voice cut through everything. It was Ashley, Brian's wife. She stood in the doorway, holding a half-empty glass of white wine, her mouth slightly open, staring at the TV. Her eyes tracked every second of the video. She didn't speak again. She didn't need to. Samantha turned slowly, her voice cracking. "Ashley, wait." Ashley didn't wait. She crossed the room in 6 quick steps and slapped Samantha across the face. Loud, sharp, no hesitation. The sound of it echoed. No one breathed. Samantha didn't cry. She just stood there, stunned, holding her cheek. Ashley turned to Brian, who hadn't moved an inch. "You disgusting piece of shit." Brian tried to speak. "Ashley, listen, She held up her hand, shutting him down. Don't say a word to me." She turned and walked straight out the front door. Brian stood there for a second, blinking like he couldn't believe what just happened. Then he bolted after her, calling her name. The door slammed shut behind him. I didn't move, just watched Samantha. She slowly sank into a chair, like her legs gave out. Claire sat frozen with her hands in her lap. Matt rubbed his temple like he suddenly had a migraine. Nobody said a thing. I could feel their eyes on me, waiting for some meltdown, waiting for yelling. But I wasn't giving them that. I already said what I needed. I walked to the TV and pulled the flash drive out. The screen went black. Samantha looked up at me, her mouth half open, eyes wide and wet, but nothing came out. I stared at her, and for the first time in months, I didn't feel confusion, or fear, or even rage. I just felt done. Nobody moved. The silence sat heavy in the room, like smoke after a fire. Samantha still hadn't spoken. She just sat there, one hand resting on the edge of the table, the other limp in her lap. Her cheek was turning red where Ashley had slapped her, but her face was pale, blank. Claire stood slowly, adjusting her dress like that would somehow fix the tension in the room. Okay, well, that was... wow. Matt looked around, then at me. You want some water or something?" "No," I said. A few guests started to shuffle toward the door. No goodbyes, no hugs. Just awkward eye contact and fast steps. I heard someone mumble, "Jesus Christ," on their way out. A couple near the fireplace made a move towards Samantha, but then turned around like they thought better of it. Smart move. There was nothing to say to her now that wouldn't make it worse. The front door opened again, and I looked up. Her parents. They'd just arrived, late, as usual. Her dad took one step in and froze. Her mom followed close behind, smiling like she was ready to work the room. Then she saw Samantha. "What's going on?" her mom asked, scanning the room, confused by the tension. Nobody answered. Claire took a step forward but stopped herself. Then Samantha's dad spoke, quiet, sharp, and dead serious. "What did you do?" he asked her. Samantha didn't look up, didn't even blink. Her dad walked over, slow and steady, eyes fixed on his daughter like she was a stranger. "I want to be wrong," he said, "but I know I'm not." Samantha finally lifted her head. "Dad, no." He cut her off with just that one word, then leaned in closer. "You threw away a 10-year marriage, a good man, and for what? Some sneaking around in a car with a married idiot?" She flinched like he'd smacked her, but he never raised his voice. He didn't have to. Her mom stepped beside him, arms crossed, lips tight. "We raised you better than this." Samantha looked at her. "It's not. You humiliated yourself. You humiliated us." Her mom's voice cracked. "I'm embarrassed to even look at you right now." The whole room was still. The guests who hadn't left yet stood frozen, pretending not to listen, but hanging on every word. I didn't say a thing. I just watched her. Watched Samantha sink lower into that chair like the air had been knocked out of her. Her dad straightened his jacket. "You've lost everything, and you don't even know it yet." He turned and walked out. Her mom followed without another word. Samantha didn't chase them. She didn't move. I could see her trying to hold back tears, but even that effort looked half-hearted. She was in shock, not because she got caught, but because she never thought she would. I glanced at the front door. Claire was standing there now, arms folded, not looking at anyone directly. "This wasn't how tonight was supposed to go," she said under her breath. I looked back at Samantha, still frozen. She hadn't looked at me once since the last clip ended. Like if she avoided my eyes, none of it would be real, but it was real. And this wasn't even the worst of it. Not yet. I didn't say a word to her. Samantha sat slumped in that chair like the life had drained out of her. Eyes wide, lips parted, but nothing coming out. It was over, and she knew it. I turned, walked past Claire, and nodded once. "Thanks for dinner." She didn't say anything, just stepped aside and let me go. I got in my car, drove home with the windows down, the cold air cutting through the silence. No music, no thoughts. Just the feeling of something ending. As soon as I got inside, I pulled up the file I'd been sitting on for a week, divorce paperwork. I had it mostly filled out already. Just needed a signature and a trip to the courthouse. I printed it, signed my name, and poured myself a drink. The next morning, my phone started buzzing before 9. Her name lit up the screen. I let it ring out, then again and again. By noon, she was outside my new apartment, an address I'd never given her. I opened the door halfway. She looked wrecked, hair tied back like she hadn't even showered, face blotchy, mascara smudged. "Adam, please," she said. "I need to talk to you." I stepped outside, closed the door behind me. She kept going. I never meant for it to go that far. I didn't know how to stop it. I didn't... "Save it," I said. "You had chances. You used them on someone else." Her lip trembled. "I was lonely. You weren't present anymore. You didn't notice me. Don't twist this. You didn't want attention. You wanted permission." She blinked, stunned. I meant every word. "I've already started the paperwork," I said. Her eyes filled up again. "Adam, please. We can fix this. I'll go to therapy. We can work through it. Don't throw everything away." I shook my head. "I didn't throw anything. You lit the match." She moved closer like she might touch me, but I stepped back. "You don't live here," I said. "And you're not coming back." She stood there, arms limp, tears running. But I felt nothing. Not rage, not pity, just a weight lifting. I turned and walked past her, back into the apartment. Didn't look back, didn't need to. For the first time in years, I didn't owe anyone anything. I was done.